Welcome to the State of the Black Man's Mental Health, and I'm your host, Paige Benjamin, and we have a special episode for you. We are starting the first of many, being a Black man in a predominantly white university, and we are here at the University of Pittsburgh, my alma mater, held at Pitt, and this came to me from one of my frat brothers over there, Montreal. You've seen him on the last episode of the State of Black Man's Mental Health. Once again, he really wanted to make sure that we brought this to Pitt, and it just happens to be our Founders Week. Look, the other 1911 is gonna get a little jealous, but we're gonna let them rock. But I really want to kind of start with just kind of talking about my experience here at Pitt, right? So, guys, don't judge me. I came here in 2000. And coming to Pitt was, I'm not going to lie to y'all, Pitt was my second choice. And I was down for the HBCU bandwagon, not necessarily bandwagon, but like I was really trying to go to an HBCU. And if anybody's trying to attempt one of these elite HBCUs, they run into issues like financial aid. Heard so much about it, and I was excited. But when it came down to financial aid, it became a situation where it was a little difficult for my family to really take care of it. Now, Pitt was the first to accept me. Now, I don't know about y'all, but Pitt's application was a one-pager front and back. Right. And so the letter of recommendation was optional. I was also what they would call an at-risk youth. So SATs weren't great. My grades were great, but SATs weren't that amazing. You guys have to worry about like 3100s on SATs now. But for me, I came in through a program called USEP. USEP, I believe, died a couple years ago. But USEP was an opportunity for people like me that wasn't truly prepared for college, but they gave us some of the soft skills. Like our first year and a half were soft skills to kind of get us acclimated to a predominantly white university, to a college experience, and really kind of try to help us to get to a point where we can compete with the rest, right? Fast forward to today, the expectations are so much higher for you all, then, I mean, I'm not gonna say it wasn't high for me, but I was lucky to be given a second chance. Montreal, you was on the episode last month, as well as you, Gerald. You guys talked about your experiences coming to University of Pittsburgh. Like, what was your experience like your freshman year?
So for those who don't know, I'm born and raised.
Tell them who you are, bro.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Montreal Newton, and I'm currently the KRS at Omicron Side Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And I wanted to team up with Purge and getting my cheese back on my cracker because the month of November is Men's Mental Health Month. And I feel like we as Black men and we as men in general need to take this topic very more seriously. I feel like, as Purge said before, and plenty of times, that like we talk about stuff, but we just talk about it and we just don't continue it. It's like, yeah, we just talk about it, but we just, all right, for another day, for another 3 months, for another 6, but we don't need to do that. And, I just want to really shine a light on people like us because, people always question our decisions of why we chose the universities that we went to, and just wanted to give people an insight of us, let us control our narrative instead of letting somebody else control ours. But back to the question that he asked, born and raised Miami, Florida, and I came to Pitt in the year 2018. And my freshman year was a little bit different. It was pretty cool because in Miami, I feel like it's a melting pot. You have a lot of different ethnicities, different cultures that's in the vicinity of Miami. And, I've learned to adapt to many different cultures. So coming to Pitt, it was a shock, but it really wasn't at the same time because I was not around as much white people. I was more around like, Haitians, Jamaicans, Cubans, Dominicans, all of those, West Indies, South America, Central America countries. And, it definitely showed me a different area. And I was like, this is interesting. But I feel like, what I've been through can propel me to what I'm about to go through in a sense.
Okay. Well, Clearly the years have changed the way
Yeah.
we introduce ourselves into the institution. So with that being said, let's introduce our guests, and we're gonna go from this way over.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cameron Spooner. I'm from Washington, D.C. I came to Pitt in 2018 with Montreal, and I graduated earlier this year in April with a degree in finance and a minor in Mandarin Chinese.
Okay.
My name is Gerald Caraway. I'm from Spring, Texas. I came into Pittsburgh fall 2019, and I'm studying chemical engineering, and I'm a member of NSBE, which is the National Society of Black Engineers.
Okay.
What's up, y'all? I'm Rashawn Brooks. I'm from Philly and came to Pitt in 2017. Got my undergrad in 2021 and finished my master's in this past August.
What's up, y'all? I'm Joshua Davis. I got a little bit of different background. I just got here in August. I'm a grad student here, studying clinical exercise phys. So I like to put my input on like what I've seen so far, being here a couple months.
Okay. Don't be afraid of the mics, fellas. They're here to help people hear y'all, so don't worry about it. For some of us, as Montreal stated, he kind of grew up in an area where it's predominantly Black, right? And then maybe others not so much so. What was your experience like coming into University of Pittsburgh? How did or does it have an impact on your mental health, considering some of us have already graduated and moved on, and you're still here? So anybody could pick that up.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take that one. Like, I was very fortunate when I came to Pitt. Like, I came with 2 or 3 of my best friends from high school, and they were Black. So luckily, like, I didn't necessarily have to worry about friends. But now thinking back on my freshman year, like, if I didn't have them, things would have been like a lot harder. Like, in high school, all A's and B's, never really had to worry about grades. I failed my first class here at Pitt, and there really wasn't that much guidance. Like, I think, and definitely something we could talk about a little bit more as we get into it, but like those first couple weeks that a freshman young Black student gets on campus, like, somebody has to like get them, somebody has to go talk to them, somebody has to like bring them in, because otherwise, like, I mean, really all you see is open space and opportunity to do whatever except do your work. Like, there's a library, sure, but like, this is the first time you're able to really make all the decisions that you want, like wherever you're going, when you're getting up, when you're going to sleep, if you're going to class. Nobody's checking you, nobody's really keeping up with you on that. Like, so I think me being able to have friends here and being able to look to people and talk to people about stuff, I was okay. But like, there were definitely times where like my GPA wasn't the best. I had to work up from like a 2.4, 2.6, whatever it was after my first semester. So like, I had that support, but there's also a lot of Black students who don't have that, or they might know a couple guys from the floor, or we used to hoop or whatever, or I seen them at a party, but y'all not really cool. You're not going to go talk to them about you failing bio. Like, you're not going to go talk to them about not having friends in your math class. Like, you need those close relationships, or at least that mentor early, so then you don't have to fight so hard to get back. That was essentially my experience.
Yeah, and Philly, y'all roll deep. So y'all tend to go everywhere as a bunch. Anybody else want to tap on that mantra? I mean, Gerald, like, you're still here, right? And you're still going through it.
Yeah, so I guess piggybacking off what he was talking about, like that first week as a freshman, it is a big week. Like, it's a culture shock if you're coming from out of state and you're away from parents. It might be a culture shock which you're not used to the environment, and then you're starting classes. So it's just a lot on someone's plate at the beginning. So it's easy to get like lost in the weeds. So having that group initially is great. I know the engineering department has this thing called the Summer Engineering Academy for Black students and other minority students to come in. And I think it's a 2-week program, and they're getting a head start on classes, learning material, and learning how to adapt to college life. So that's something I've seen where they're trying to change, I guess, how people are received early, so you can get ahead of the curve and then, I guess, change your trajectory and not have to be working from behind so much. So, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I feel like for me, my experience at Pitt was pretty unique. Coming in, I had a counselor who was a Black woman, and she was the professor in charge of this organization called Roberto Clemente Minority Business Association. So I was in the business school here at Pitt. So immediately, even before I got to Pitt, I came here over the summer and I met her, and she paired me up with a mentor who was another Black woman. She was a senior here at Pitt. She was like a genius 4.0 student, CPA out of school and stuff. So it was really nice to be able to meet both of them, and then also be paired up with RCMBA, which was an organization that I was a part of all 4 years at Pitt. But I feel like, it's a culture shock, like everybody was saying. I feel like everybody is different. Even, some of the Black people you meet here, I feel like are just come from different places and have unique backgrounds. And so you're not really able to relate to everybody like you may think. And I feel like for me, initially coming into Pitt, that made it hard for me to find a lot of friends. And so, I would hang out with people that I feel like it wasn't about finding friends. It was about finding friends that were focused on their academics and really focused on being successful. I could find friends and I could find people to hang out with and just do whatever. But when it came to finding people that had an expectation for me to do well in school and wanted to see me be successful, it wasn't really there in my first few semesters. And so, like he was saying, I also had a bad GPA initially coming into Pitt, and I had to, fight my way back up. And I feel like that really had an impact on my mental health as a freshman and sophomore.
Okay. You want to add something?
So originally,
Get closer to you.
originally in my undergrad, I came from a smaller PWI. So one of the reasons I chose Pitt, bigger school, besides the finance and all that, it's just for more diversity. So I was hoping in my cohort we had more diversity. So I get here, first day, I didn't meet nobody in my cohort. I go graduate study stuff. I see we got Black women, Black men, high positions. So I'm all right, this is a good start. I'm happy. I meet my cohort. There's one other African American there, Black male, is over there. So I was a little disappointed in that. I say it starts to wear on you because I'm a GSA. There's about 10 GSAs. 2 of us are Black.
What's a GSA for some of us simple folks? I'm raise my hand.
So grad student assistants.
Okay.
So
okay.
There's 2 of us, 2 Black ones. So outside of the work in school, it's hard to you can hang out with other races, other cultures and stuff like that. And being Black, you know how to code switch. So you get used to code switching, but sometimes you like to be around your own people and just be your original self. You got common, even he said, people come from all over, different Black people. But even if you come from different backgrounds, you can still share common things. You say a thing, it spark memories to you. Just feel endorphins, just start feeling psychologically. You just feel better being around people you're more comfortable around, just sure. With that. So that was my biggest curve that I'm just getting over recently. Just most of the people in my cohort were white. So that's who I was hanging out with. And I didn't notice until I got out of that environment and actually hung around people with common background of how it was just, I was coasting. I wasn't really living. I was kind of flat. I won't say depressed. I was deflated. I know I wasn't my best self at that time, and it was definitely showing in the work I was doing.
Okay. Sure. So you actually touch on something that I want to ask everybody, and I kind of touched on it earlier as well. I wanted to go to HBCU, but once again, it wasn't working out. I also was recruited by a Black recruiter for Black students across the country. He was just traveling, just showing Black faces here at Pitt, and then you come to find out it's not the case. But I also chose Pitt because it was far enough that my parents couldn't just pop up on me. And I wanted to seriously be independent. Why did you all choose? From Florida, you have hella schools in Florida. Philly, you got the thousands of schools in Philly. Plus, people either go to Pitt or IUP. Yeah. So you could have gone that direction. For sure. What made y'all come to Pitt?
Oh, I'll start us off on that one. So kind of like Purge, my mom, she went to Morris Brown. Shout out to mom, Morris Brown. And they just got their accreditation back. But yeah, I got recruited to play football at Morris Brown and FAMU. And same thing with at Morehouse, they were having a financial issue. So I was like, yo, this is a private school. This is a lot of bread. That's not gonna cut it. And then FAMU, they took the offer away. But I just started applying to schools, and my thing was I wasn't paying for no application fees. You ain't finna look at my application fee and just be like, oh, GPA ain't high enough, denied, but I'm gonna take your 50 though.
Right.
So that wasn't me. So every school that was free for applying, I took it. Pitt, okay, green. UF, took it. FAU, UCF, all of those schools, I took it. And then I landed on 3 schools. It was Pitt, FAU, and UCF. FAU 45 minutes away from the crib. I ain't gonna lie. Mom, dad, you're probably just not knowing this, but hey, 45 minutes, y'all can come anytime. Cool. Hey, I graduated. Hey. But I chose Pitt because I was like, I can always go back home to Miami. Miami, I got my grandma's live there, my aunts there. I got family out there, Yin Yang, that lives there, and I can always go back if needed. So I just wanted to, come up here and just experience something different. My dad, he went to school in North Carolina. He went to Elizabeth City, and my mom went to Atlanta. Like, that's like neck and neck right there. They never really went far and branched out. So, I just wanted to go out and take the limb and just see what's out there. Because I always had that thing in the back of my head, like, okay, if I don't like this, Miami is back. Like, I can always go back. I got aunts in Georgia, Atlanta. Like, I got places I can go if this is not the place where I want to be and if it's not looking good. So that's how I landed in Pitt.
I mean, I can go next. I always thought I would go far. I was like, bet, like high school come around, junior, senior year, like I'm out of here. Like Philly is great and all, but it's also not great in a lot of ways. So when it was time, I was like, all right, I can't wait. You know what I mean? But then you start looking at schools and how much they actually cost. And I actually was supposed to go to Duquesne, which was crazy. And like, I was already posting stuff on my Instagram, like, yo, I'm going to Duquesne, X, Y, and Z, until I seen that bill. And I'm like, whoa, I got a scholarship. I thought I actually, had enough. Wasn't even close. And then I think I applied to Pitt fairly late because like a lot of my friends at my school was applying to Pitt. So I'm like, all right, let me see what's up. And it's a rolling admission. And like, they got back to me quick, scholarship came in quick. And it was like, all right, well, like I had some other schools like Maryland and like other places I could have went to, but it just made the most sense. And I like that it was 5 hours away, but still in state for the in-state tuition. So I'm like, yo, this is really like the furthest I can go and still be in state. Let me take that. And yeah, you know what I mean? Like I knew it was going to be a PWI. I knew it wasn't going to be that many Black people, but I think you still kind of assume, like I went to a small high school, like it'll still be a lot more than I was even used to at my school. So even Pitt was like a slight upgrade from my high school. So.
And then you mentioned you coming from a smaller PWI. Where were you at before?
I was at a smaller school in Indiana. So y'all know anything about Indiana?
The state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The state. It's called Tryon University. Y'all know anything about Indiana? It's just cornfields. Yeah. Not a lot of Black people. So, like I said, grad student. I didn't want to pay for school at grad school at all. So when I applied, I was looking for any school that offered the grad student assistant spot. So applied to a couple. Got accepted to a couple. Got a GSA spot from a couple. But like I said, one was in Indiana. It was gonna be close to the same thing. It was a bigger school, but I've seen Indiana. It wasn't gonna get no better. Another school. I like being away from home, but other schools like 10 hours. I don't think I can do 10 hours. I got to be able to get home at least within a day. So I want to go do that. So I ended up landing right here, Pitt, hoping for more Black people. I'm not disappointed, but I thought there would be more. So like Montreal said, his whole family's all Anglo, never branched out. that was my biggest thing I wanted to do, and that's why I wanted to come a little bit further to Pittsburgh. Majority of my family, 90%, still on the east side of Detroit. A lot of people haven't left east side. Take the first step and try to just branch out a little bit.
Okay.
I guess I can go next. So, similar to Montreal, so my entire family went to HBCUs except my aunt, I think. So all of them, most of them went to PV, so Prairie View A&M University down in Texas. So I guess initially I always heard stories like, oh, financial aid and administration is always a hassle. You got to keep everything on file because they might try to mess you up over when you're trying to graduate. So that initially scared me away from wanting to go to HBCUs. So I was hesitant. I was like, I don't want to have to deal with that like when I go to school. But then my parents took me to a PV game and a PV homecoming. I was like, this looks kind of cool. Like, I feel like I would like this environment. So I applied to different HBCUs around the country, and I was pretty sure I was going to Howard. I was like, I got in. It was a good amount of financial aid, so I was like, okay, yeah, that's straight. Like, I think I'm going to go to Howard. But then Pitt came, and that money was different, and I was like, I'm trying to have more money. Like, I messed with Howard heavy, and I think I would have enjoyed it, but I think it was like a grown-up decision I had to make. So not wanting to necessarily have the most fun or the best environment, but looking like after I graduate, hey, you got to pay stuff off if you need to. So trying to make sure everything's reduced as much as possible. So that's how I decided with Pitt. I could have played football at a couple places, but I didn't. After high school, I was done kind of playing football. I think I wanted to really focus on like that next part of my journey. So I knew I wasn't going to the league or anything. I'm not some incredible athlete. So I was like, nah, let me focus on school and trying to like take that next step in terms of professionalism and different things. And I think I am enjoying my experience to the best of my abilities. So yeah, that's how I decided.
Yeah, so for me, I think I applied to a bunch of schools out west. I was definitely trying to get away. I'm from DC, so I was trying to get far away from home. I definitely got rejected from a lot of them. You know, I got rejected from my top choice and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't looking too good for me. But the schools that I did get accepted to out west, I went out there with my dad, and it was kind of just like not really my vibe. I wasn't really feeling it. I actually I'd go up to like a black person. I'd be like, you know, you think I should go here? And they'd be like, no. You know, and after hearing that a few times, I was like, all right, I don't think the West is for me. And then so I think the last two schools I was deciding between were Howard and Pitt, and I actually had some scholarship from Howard. I didn't really have as much from Pitt, but I do get like some DC, you know, scholarship stuff. But yeah, so my dad, he actually went to Howard. My dad is from Trinidad. He was like the first in his family to go to college and stuff. So, you know, he enjoyed his time at Howard, but he didn't really want me to stay in DC. He kind of wanted me to get out and explore. And I definitely feel like I would have been very distracted being back home. So, you know, I came out to Pitt on a visit, and I just really enjoyed my time out here. I felt like it was like a beautiful place. It was actually a really nice day that day. And, you know, usually it's not. It was like a nice community. I met a lot of people. I met people that were actually in the RCMBA that turned out to be, you know, my mentors that day. And so it was nice to actually, you know, talk to them before I even came to Pitt. I met Jayla that day when I came up here. So, you know, I even met some of the people that I was friends with all throughout Pitt, you know, so it was really nice. And so that's why I decided to commit to Pitt.
Okay. So earlier, I think everyone here kind of expressed their initial challenges as a freshman, right? Like, what were some of those distractions? Because I mean, I know for me, it was being away from home, and then there was a lot of women here. There was a lot of booze here. There was a lot of partying. Like, I think our first few weeks, there was a party almost every weekend being hosted by upperclassmen. We were I was enticed by just being a kid in the candy store. I mean, we're still outnumbered 4 to 5 to 1 here. So what what were some of the distractions you guys felt like? Because you mentioned trying to find people of like mind to kind of make sure you were on the right path academically. Like, was it the distractions, or was it the second part of my question is going to be, was it that you weren't prepared for college based on where you guys came from? Anybody could hit on that.
I mean, I felt like I was prepared for school in a way. I went to one of the top schools in DC, so I really felt like it helped prepare me for college. I think I was distracted by being able to make all my own decisions, like really to the fullest extent, you know, like at all times of the night. And then also kind of just like, you know, not really feeling like I belonged. What's the imposter syndrome kind of, yeah, you know, kind of feeling like that. It's like, you know, I don't really, after a while, you know, sometimes I'd be in class and I felt like people would look at me weird, and it's like, oh, this kid doesn't belong here. Maybe, you know, I'm not getting the best on my first exams and people are looking at me like I'm dumb. Even, you know, some of the people that I came in with that I thought were my friends, you know, other Black students, and I'm not realizing like, oh, it's not really, you know, this is college. People take this stuff serious, you know, and not really understanding that at first, I think was a distraction. And then also just some of the people that I hung around, you know, people had different priorities. I know, like for me, I would hang around a lot of the athletes that I knew from back home, and it was like, you know, they don't have to focus on their schoolwork like me because they have something going for them outside of the schoolwork, you know, so they're, you know, hanging out all day and they're, you know, working out and stuff, and that's what they do. Whereas me, I'm not, you know, I'm with them and I'm spending time with them as opposed to sitting down and doing my homework. And at the end of the day, you know, when I would get back to, you know, my house and I'm looking at my grades and I got bad grades, like they don't really care because, you know, they had a good game this weekend or whatever, like, you know, so.
Yeah, no, I can definitely speak to that. Like the distractions itself, for one, and this is something I didn't even really start to like appreciate until like now that I'm like post grad and working and stuff. Like having the same schedule every day really makes a difference. Like I would start like undergrad, you might have an 8 a.m. one day, and then you might not have your first class till like 12 on Tuesday. So you like, oh, I got time. I can like stay up tonight, but like that difference in like the amount of sleep that you get in each night, or like when you eating your meals like during the time of the day, I really didn't even think about that until now. And like that lack of like real structure definitely took a toll on me after a while, because like now I'm just like I'm forgetting to do certain things that I normally would because the schedule isn't like the same. And not that you have to be super strict, but like in high school, you know, all right, I got to be here before the bell ring. I'm gonna leave at this time for whatever, for sport practice or whatever. I'm gonna catch the bus. I'm gonna catch the same train home every day. Like that's how my life was in Philly. And then even in my high school, I went from being in the class where it was like 20, 25 of us in the classroom to now it's 300 in my Bio 1 class. And I'm like, not only am I one of like 4 Black students in here, but I'm always at the top of this big auditorium. If I don't have my glasses on, I can't see the board. And even if I can hear the professor, like, am I really listening? Because it's just like so far away. Anybody could be speaking to me right now. So it was a mix of that, and even just not even really knowing how to study. Like, yeah, the distractions of women and partying, all that stuff. Like you get introduced, or at least I got introduced to that in high school, but like, I still got my work done because of the schedule. But like when I got to college, it was like, not only am I in this big lecture hall, but like everything is really on me essentially. Like I blew through all my dining dollars too early. And you like, oh, I got a meal plan. I should always be able to eat. But then it's like, no, I already used my swipe for the day. Like I'm gonna use it for dinner, but what I'm about to do for lunch? Like, let me go get the ramen from the CVS real quick, like, cause I gotta eat. You know, my mom would hate to hear me say that I wasn't eating. Like I was, but even that was a little bit of extra stress, and I had to study, and I still had to make time for friends. So it's like getting the actual schedule for yourself and like actually doing things like regularly helps a lot. It was just a bunch of like unorganized chaos, and I think that really took a toll on my mental health as well.
Yo, Chick-fil-A got all my dining dollars, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was like, all right, I had a whole bunch of classes in the cathedral, and Chick-fil-A was downstairs. So in between classes, I'm eating nuggets all day.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A sent me a check. So you guys touched on something that I want to kind of bring up, right? Like being Black men or being students of color coming into HBC in a PWI, where we're automatically feeling out of place, right? Feeling like we don't fit in. And Montreal hit me with a fact or some stats is like black males make up 8% of the overall population here. And I think Pitt is at what, like 20,000 students total commuting plus?
Something like that. Yeah, undergrad.
And that's crazy, right? Like, and I'm just gonna kind of stay on your freshman year experience. Like, did you guys feel like the student organizations here met some of your needs, right? You mentioned Roberto Clemente earlier, having a mentor. There's BAS, there's NSBE, there's CLASA, there's ASO, there's all of these other organizations. As a freshman, you probably didn't know who to go to for what, but did you guys feel like these organizations on campus help?
I mean, I know one thing that I really enjoyed my freshman year, and like they just brought it back this year, and I'm thankful for NSBE for doing that. But the NSBE cookout freshman year, like what Son was saying, like that first week, it's open to anything. Like you're just like a sponge, you trying to soak it all in. And I feel like that NSBE cookout, you just see so much blackness in one area, and you like, oh, it is not just me. It's all of these people. You can connect. I mean, it was 2018. Snapchat dead now, but you know, Snapchat dead. But like, you can get a snap, start a group chat. It is you roll it from there. So, like that first week, it definitely means a lot because, like I said, you just a sponge trying to soak up everything that you could get in because you know school start, people go their own ways. You know, stuff happens. You know, people who you might meet the first week, you probably might not see them till Halloween. This August, end of August, this the end of October. That's 2-3 months. A lot of stuff can happen in that small time. People go home. For sure. The stress, the being homesick, you know, it's so much. It's so many external factors that plays a part, and it could just take a toll on people.
Anybody else? Like what did so because you mentioned Roberto Clemente earlier. I was just in Puerto Rico and they got this like thing going on for Roberto Clemente. And I mean I remember just coming on campus, CLASA was my thing, right? Like Caribbean Latin Student Association. Being Haitian at Pitt, like you think 8% is crazy. It was like I think for every class, maybe one Haitian person, if that. So you talk about trying to find Glio. You know what I'm talking about. Some Glio, some pickles. Oh man, I could find oxtail anywhere, but I couldn't find no Haitian food. So CLASA helped me kind of assimilate, and that's how I was able to find other Haitian folks. Because I mean, I didn't realize Haitian folks were here. They're just so spread out. I say that to kind of lead towards the Roberto Clemente thing. You had a summer to really get acclimated to the city, right? Or at least to the university. But even then, people don't really pull up until like everybody's here. What was that like for you?
Well, I was actually only here for like 2 days. It was over like a weekend. So,
okay.
But I feel like Roberto Clemente, what helped me with them was there were people there from all parts of the business school, like all types of Black people that you could really kind of like, that would guide you down any path that you needed. You know what I'm saying? And they'd be able to support you, whether you needed help with schoolwork, whether you needed, you know, mentorship, whether you just needed somebody to talk to. Like there were really fun events. Like, I would say times have definitely changed a lot, but like we used every Monday night at 9 p.m. we used to have an event and there'd be 30 people there and it'd be like a blast. And, you know, it'd be all this stuff going on. And, you know, you really felt a sense of community there. And that's what I appreciated about that organization. And sometimes, you know, I would come in there and I'd be doing stupid stuff, you know, like, and I was definitely a distraction and kind of like a oddball out sometimes in the organization. But at the end of the day, people always, you know, made me feel appreciated, made me feel like they wanted to support me. Like they never, you know, wanted to put me down or wanted to see me fail. And then, you know, they also introduced me to just a lot of other Black people in the Pitt community, like that's how I figured out about events like the NSBE cookout and stuff, and meeting NSBE people. You know, like we've had RCMBA's had collaborations with the Latino student organization and just different all types of like, you know, ethnicities on Pitt's campus. So it was nice with that organization, you know, to be able to experience all that and to continue to, you know, give that to students as they came, because I stayed with that organization through all my 4 years here at Pitt.
Nice. So once again, I'm the old old dude in the room. So back in my day, there was 3 main fashion shows. There was the NSBE fashion show, the BAS fashion show, and the Classic fashion show, right? Now, as a member of NSBE, what are the kind of staple events that are being hosted? Because you guys talked about the cookout, right? That they brought back. Like, what are some other staple things that they're doing now?
So now we just brought back the cookout, as everyone said. So that was real dope. And we started doing a pit field day. So last year and this year, that's been really fun. It's in the beginning of the year, so it's kind of that same thing of getting people acclimated, coming in and doing fun events like that. So that's been great. So those are the real 2 staples. I didn't even know NSBE did fashion shows. Like,
I was in all of them. At one point, I was in all of them. But because I think in early 2000s. I know y'all looking at me all funny, but like early 2000s, we were deep. You know what I mean? And even if we were spread out, we would always find a way to come together. Like all the organizations really made an effort to support one another because we got. And so like I kind of felt like when I came in, people were bringing us in. Like I was also running up to, like you did, like running up to like upperclassmen trying to figure out what's going on. Some were nice about it, some weren't. But over time, I kind of figured my own footing, right? Just like you found the folks that you felt like were going to hold you accountable. I was able to do that. Like, what were, and I know we touched on this a little bit, like, what were your needs coming into school? Like, what were the needs that NSBE or Roberto Clemente or CLASA or any of the organizations, even as a GSA, what were some of your needs coming here as a Black man that you felt like are still missing or needs to be addressed?
I'm gonna start for just familiarity or whatever, just like feeling comfortable. Like that's one thing I haven't really got yet. I haven't found like a strong like group of like Black people who like do things together. Like it doesn't have to be a big event, just like kind of do anything, just be around each other, just be around that environment. I got a little bit with that with the sports program I'm part of, but at the same time, I'm just still missing that piece. So that's the biggest thing. Just like being comfortable, being able to just relax, just be yourself, and not having to code switch all day. As a GSA, as a grad student assistant, that's like my number one priority with my job. I go through classes. I have like 6 classes. I probably have 2 Black students in all of those classes. So just pretty much missing piece, just finding
and the 2 are on this panel. So
so that's the biggest thing that I'm still missing as GSA. A grad student. I know it's still early in the year, so I'm not really worried. I know, like when I first got here, this is an organization paying now for like grad students, so got involved with that. So they're still setting stuff up. So I know it'll come. So just waiting for that.
Actually, I wanted to talk about, so to answer your question and then also talk about the organizations, I definitely got to give a shout out to BAS because like my freshman year changed dramatically when I got connected with BAS. But I will say like the only reason I had that experience is because I kind of went out on my own. Me and one of my guys, like we became interns for BAS. And then from there, like we got all the love. We was at all the meetings. Of course, we got to know all the upperclassmen. And honestly, that really did change my pit experience. Like getting to know some of them. We at the first stroll comp I ever went to, I'm sitting in the front row because I'm on the BAS little like e-board type of thing. And I'm a freshman. I'm sitting there with like a corny little pit t-shirt on. Everybody else is dressed up, but it's like, I don't care. Like I'm front row. Like this is what Black college look like. Like it's whatever. I don't even care. Like it was a great time. But at the same time, like, and it's definitely not any fault of BAS. That's an amazing organization that's been doing great things for like many, many years. But like obviously they can't reach everybody. Like you can post a flyer 1,000,000 times on Instagram. Every Black student is not going to see it. They now have a group me like for Black Pitt students. Okay, that don't mean that they're still going to see it. People be talking about whatever in there. I know I used to mute that chat. So I know hundreds of Black students in there mute it every single day. Like they're not seeing it. So, and like I said, especially in that first week, orientation week, pre-orientation, the week after that, like those first weeks, like even up until really October, we really need Black students to be on foot. Like we need people sitting out in the quad. We need people sitting outside the Union, upper campus, because like there are students who live up there who may not be on lower campus all the time. Like we need people around all the time who can literally just kind of grab you up, even if you ignore them and keep walking. You've seen them, even if they pass you a pamphlet and you throw it in the trash, like you've seen them, like, and you might look at the second one or the third one and you might actually show up to an event. But like, I know I had that great experience once I got connected to BAS, but I also know a lot of other Black students who I may have even talked to them junior, senior year and been like, damn, bro, I wish I would have like been in BAS, and they decided to join other organizations, and we can even talk about that later. But like, if you don't, it's almost like, I know in Philly, we always talk about like helping out the young bulls. Like that's like a term that we use a lot. Like sometimes you really just got to go get them. Like you can't just let them come to you or like, oh, they make their own decision. No, like they will make their own decision after I go like grip them up, for lack of a better term. Like that's kind of what I needed, low key. And it happened because I went out on my own, but so many other Black men didn't even know to make that first step. And then they graduate and they're like, you know, I have Black friends, but I don't have a Black community for real.
So so let me ask you guys real quick. So when I was here, there was a concerted effort to get all the Black organizations on campus to help people move in. Is that not a thing anymore? Or like, I mean, it wasn't just us. It was like all organizations on campus volunteered to help freshmen move in, like into their dorms. So like, is it still called Holland and whatever? Yeah. So all of these dorms, because you know things change. It's been a while. So you know, I know that's how I met Nick. That's how I met a whole bunch of like people who ended up becoming bros because of that. And then I met a lot of other people that I just kind of became friends with after the fact that were younger. So that moving in process is your first introduction to like, yo, like as Black men, are we helping the freshmen come in? Because I mean, the administration know where all the Black men are staying. So it would at least behoove them to be like, all right, I want to make sure the faces that they're first introduced to are someone that looks like them, sound like them, and kind of understand where they're coming from. So with that being said, is like, you know, do we need to kind of like reach back and kind of figure out what were some of the programs that worked in the past? And I'm saying that because it sounds like a lot has been lost over the years. And, you know, I feel bad for you because coming in, you wanted that embrace. And there weren't that many people like, not, don't get it twisted. It's not like everybody was coming in, putting their arm around me, but I was able to see like, I mean, you're alpha here at Pitt. There was a boatload of y'all here, right? There was a boatload of Kappas. There was a boatload of Sigmas. Like those were the faces that we were introduced to as freshmen. Now, you know, it wasn't a come become this organization. It was welcome Black men. You know what I mean? And that had a different effect as opposed to you having to go find me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so with that being said, you know, we have a slew of Black organizations like you were trying to get alluded to. What's like you talked earlier about joining, well, at least being an intern into BAS. Like, how did like joining that kind of help you in kind of supporting Black students?
Well, I mean, just from that in general, like I say, when you start to get to know the upperclassmen, like you just start to see what their lives are starting to look like. Like, oh, like the things that they're doing, they're not at the house parties anymore. Like they're doing whatever they do on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? And like, oh, now they're talking about, oh, I have this internship this summer out of town, out of state, you know, from their hometown, and just like getting ready to graduate. And then it was also crazy that like some of the people who I looked up to in BAS, they started becoming Greek like in the same year or semester, like that spring 18, like right even before that. So I'm like, oh, okay, like it's now like almost like a double network. Like not only are they in BAS, now they're Greek as well. And some of the people who are now like my, you know, big brothers, like they were in BAS, and then as soon as they became noobs, a year later, I was as well. So I think just being exposed to, like, for a lack of a better term, like being exposed to real maturity, seeing what that looks like, it kind of just helps set you on the path, because now it's like you can just look up to people. And I think that's what all young Black people need. Like, they just need people to look up to. So it's like the things that they're chasing and following behind is going to lead them to at least a positive path. You know what I mean?
Now, you obviously chose the wrong time frame, but it's okay. We don't let that slide.
Got it.
But no, like, how did, and this is for the Greeks at the table, like, and you know, Gerald joining like Nesby, being on the e-board, like, you know, how did joining these organizations change your perspective on your experience?
So when I first came to Pitt, when I was a freshman, like the first 2 weeks, there was this panel held by the Black Men's Collective, and it had like all the Black faculty and students at Pitt, like Black men. And for me, it was crazy because I went to that, and you know, that was the first time I had seen like a group of Black men. You know, they filled up this room at Pitt, and like, you know, most of them were alphas, and you know, or not most of them, but some of them were alphas, and you know, I saw what they were doing, and I saw a lot of the stuff that they were talking about, and it was really inspirational to me. Like he was talking about, you know, they had internships, they had jobs, they were being successful. Even talking to the faculty, Dean Bonner, you know, it was really inspiring to see all these Black men in very successful places and stuff like that. And so being in one of the, you know, being in the organization, being an alpha, you know, and being in RCMBA and stuff, it changed my perspective on Pitt because it gave me people that really wanted to support me. And I feel like that was the biggest thing. Like, I know for me, going to that Black Men's Collective event, that was the first time I had seen like a large group of Black men, or just Black men that were, you know, within like 5 years older than me, within that range, really like being very successful with their lives, or that were even in college. You know, that was my first time really getting exposure to that. And I was like, whoa, like, I want to be like that. You know, I don't want to be a bum. Like, I don't want to have to worry about how I'm going to get money. Like, I want to get a good job. You know, I want to get a good education and, you know, get what I came here for. And so one of the big things for me was even, you know, when I first crossed Alpha, I was like going to the house every day, and I was just chilling, playing a game, hanging out. And like bros came up to me and they were like, you know, we love hanging out with you, but like, you know, your schoolwork is more important. And like, we want you to focus on that, and really understanding that like, these are people older than me that like, you know, want to see me do well and have that expectation of me to do well. Like, you know, it's not like they're my parents, but it's like, I don't want to disappoint my bros. Like, I don't want to look like I'm stupid in front of them, or look like, you know, like I didn't, you know, uphold the morals and standards that were, you know, set forth for us. Like, and not just, you know, for me as an alpha, but for all of us at Black Men at Pitt, you know, like they, you know, Dean Bonner or Vice Provost Bonner, you know, he wants us to be successful. The Black people at this university want us to be successful. And so being shown these people that want to be there to help you and are going to provide you those resources, that was what changed my perspective on the university.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of move forward, right? As you guys start to get yourself acclimated within your organizations and trying to make changes for the community, what are some of the challenges you guys face in kind of, you know, trying to address some of these things, right? Like, you know, we all go in to try to make sure the next generation doesn't have to deal with what we had to. What were some of the challenges you guys faced in, you know, trying to make sure, like, as you lift, as you climb, you're lifting, but something's kind of holding that other person down, or there's really gonna get down to it. Like, do y'all feel like there's a systemic issue to keep us from being able to succeed here, or do we just feel like there's a lack of preparation or support?
I would say probably both. I would also really credit it to COVID-19. I feel like COVID had a major impact on Pitt's Black community. You know, over time, just to give some background, like I'm on the African American Alumni Council here at Pitt. And so like they've been working on, you know, trying to increase the Black population here at Pitt. And they've been, you know, one of my frat brothers, who's the president, Thomas Brooks, he's been working very diligently with all of Pitt leadership, pressuring them, you know, having meetings with the chancellor and stuff like that. You know, if you look at data from the 80s and compare that to the, you know, if you look at the number of Black students in the 80s at Pitt versus now, it's less, like significantly less students now today, even, you know, when I was at Pitt in 2018. And so I think systemically, I think, you know, Pitt isn't providing enough scholarship for Black students. They're not, I don't think, providing us with the same resources when we get here. You know, I think there are some programs that accommodate people, but I don't think they accommodate all the Black people here. And I feel like when they do support us, it's, you know, to put on, it's performative, like it's to put on a show. I know I was MPHC president last year. And so, you know, I know like when we had Steel City, you know, Pitt leadership came to that, you know, but they didn't do anything else. Like they came and got free tickets to it. They didn't even have to pay for the tickets for it, you know? So it's like, I feel like there should be an expectation for them to do just a little bit more. And I think that the AAAC and BAS and MPHC has been pressuring Pitt to do so. But I also feel like COVID-19 really made it a lot more difficult for us and just overall the Black community. And, you know, there's also been a decline with Black men just attending universities. Even if you look at Pitt, the number of Black women here is significantly higher than Black men. And so I think, you know, I don't think Pitt is necessarily is the main factor in the systemic issue that we face with Black men at this university. But I feel like that they could do more to be able to, you know, bring in Black men, especially from the local community, from Pittsburgh, because one of the biggest issues is you don't see a lot of Black people from Pittsburgh attending the University of Pittsburgh because it's difficult. It's difficult to get into Pitt if you live here. You know, for us, it was probably not the craziest school to go to Pitt. Everybody goes to Pitt. Like that was a safety school for a lot of people at my school. But people in Pittsburgh, they're like, you know, 4.0, top of their class. And so if they, you know, would open their, you know, their doors and make it less difficult for students in struggling communities in the Pittsburgh area to be able to attend here, I think that would help.
I think even just talking about like bringing it back to like the mental health aspect, like this school is pretty big. Like this is a big D1 school with a lot of students, and even how the campus is spread out. Like there's a whole, it's like kind of split in half. Like, yeah, most of it is on lower, but it's still upper campus. Like essentially what I'm saying is it's easy to get lost here. Like it's easy to just go through the motions here. And we already know it's not about to be a lot of sunlight until April, May. And like that seasonal depression is a real thing. Like that first midterm hit, you'd be like, shh, this 60 something, not about to pull itself up. You know what I mean? Like, so even as we talk about, you know, mental health month, like I just really think, and I think we talked about this earlier, like we always do this, right? We'll get on this podcast, we'll talk about it. A month later, a week later, it almost doesn't matter because the conversation has stopped, or it only is in this room and it's not reaching the other rooms that it probably really needs to be in. And I think this is a great platform to start, but like essentially we all got to go back to our real lives. Like I know for me, during COVID, I was here, you know, obviously people getting sick, people dying. And then we got the George Floyd incident that happens right in the middle of all of that. Like I'm still trying to figure out my finals, is protests going on. And at the same time, it's like, I really had to sit down with myself and be like, bro, I'm gonna be honest, like, you don't really have time to be sad right now. Like, you got stuff to do. Like, you got to worry about not getting sick. You got to figure out, first of all, Pitt was kicking people out the dorms. I had to get out. One, like, I'm at protests. You know what I'm saying? They tear gas, all that. Like, I'm in the mix. And then I still got to almost, like, grieve for this Black man that I don't know. And it was, like, actually, like, taking a toll. Like, you talked about, like, COVID definitely made an impact. But even before that, like, if you're a Black student, especially if you don't come from, you know, money, like, you got a lot of stuff to worry about. I wasn't poor. I wasn't necessarily broke, but I definitely didn't have money either. So like that, you're not doing the best in your classes. If you don't have that great friend group or support group here at Pitt, like he said, like the Pitt administration, they're not going to do it. Like even the things that they do, like that's fine. But if it's not day to day, if it's not constant, if it's not frequent, it's really not doing anything. Like you can put it on the Pitt News, whatever you want to do, but if the students aren't feeling it, if they aren't feeling like they're being supported, if they aren't feeling like you see them or you hear them, none of it actually matters. And I think something else to talk about, which is in Black men in general, like obviously this is who we are. Like, we kind of carry ourselves a certain kind of way, and that makes us us. I don't think we should change that. But at the same time, like, we're a very, if he don't ask for help, then he cool type of people. Like, if he don't say he needs something, he good, bro. Like, he's straight. Like, he be all right. Like, this is how we handle things. Knowing he may be acting different, knowing he may be acting distant, knowing he may be acting avoidant, like knowing these could be actually cries for help, and it's not our fault either because we got stuff to do. Like, we don't really have time to really get into mental health all the time because mental health not going to pass this exam tomorrow. Mental health not going to pay these bills. Mental health is not going to get me from point A to point B, even though I think it's important. On a day-to-day basis, it can't really be as valued because we got stuff to do.
That's deep. That's deep. You know, and the reason I'm trying to identify the challenges here, and that's a great point with COVID. I mean, I didn't forget about it, but it's like we're now in a new norm. A lot of people glance over it as an issue that's causing some of the divide in our communities. And I think part of what this organization is trying to do is kind of change the mindset of that not that you have, but that generally people have about mental health. Like, like anxiety is a thing, right? Like being anxious, imposter syndrome is a thing. You come to a school not feeling like you can, it will reduce your ability to perform, whether it's on the field and or in the books. You know what I mean? Like, oddly enough, I was depressed leaving school. Like, it goes back to there's a routine. Like, I was actually working full time while in school. So once I cut off school, like, I'm gonna just go generally here. It's like when we are going through intake, we have a lot of time. We don't have enough time. When that comes out the way, all of a sudden it's like, I have like another 10 hours to kill. Right? Like for me, I took up that extra time by getting another degree and then another degree. Like I felt like college, like the college dropout, but going back to school again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I was prepared for adulthood as a Black man, right? I don't think I was prepared for the next iteration of what our lives is supposed to look like. Because me working, like all I knew was school and work. And then when you took school out, it was like, what do you fill that void with? Because I'm working, but I ain't got enough money to be really traveling like that or doing anything crazy. But I have fun with the people that I'm around, but that gets mundane. So, for me, it's like, I don't like my mind to be still. Not necessarily that I'm like worried about like being in my thoughts. I don't like feeling unproductive. So at the end of the day, I find something to do. And at that time, it was like, all right, well, let's go back to school. I graduated with a poli-sci degree and a concentration in sociology, but like I'm an IT person. I ain't got nothing to really like, I had some struggles at Pitt. I had to change my major up a couple times, but I was like, you know what? Shoot, let me go back to college. Not college, but let me go to grad school. Let me get my master's in information systems. And then it was like, all right, now this is done. Let me go get my MBA. All right, now I'm like, look, I'm not putting myself no more into debt, right? But I say all that to say it's like we find ways to keep ourselves busy, right? And those busy things are the things that kind of like we ignore, right? We ignore the things that were causing us angst, causing us to feel like we don't belong, causing us to feel depressed. Like even earlier, you were like, that routine was clutch. Now what do? Right? Like some people, no offense to you gym rats, y'all just stay in the gym all day because that's where you feel most comfortable, right? I mean, I'm not saying y'all, but like, but talking about mental health and being able to like kind of address the issues. Like the reason I ask about the challenges in helping our community is because you guys are recently here, right? You guys know what some of the challenges are. And one of them is, there's a mental side to everything that we do. How do we get past the, I still got this exam to take, but, I just lost my mom or I just lost my uncle, or my mom's going through chemo, or like people's going through real life shit. Pardon my French. And, the other thing is maybe, we look at first aid training, mental health first aid training, so that when you do see some of these differences in people's behavior, you're like, what's up, brother? Like, let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? At least redirect them to somewhere where they can get the help. You know what I mean? Like, to your point is like, where do we go from here? Like, my follow-up question is like, how do we overcome some of these challenges? Right? Like, you guys were leaders in the community, are still a leader in community. Like, what are you guys doing to give back to make sure that like you're on AAAC, right? These are conversations that we need to push the administration with. And it's like, look, there are a lot of intelligent Black men. Why aren't they making it here? Right? On the NSBE side, you guys can address the freshmen coming in firsthand, right? Your neos, they can be like, yo, we're gonna help freshmen move in. We're gonna kind of address it, because like the things that you were missing, we need to now get back into like, hey, this wasn't happening when I moved into campus. I would love for MPAC to be like, all right, yo, give us a dorm, give us a area where we can help with carts, move people in, and what might have.
The alphas actually helped out with that. This move in.
I mean, okay, all right. I mean, that's a great thing to do. I mean, even if we don't help, just roam the yard. You know what I mean? Just wear your t-shirt, because I, like, a personal testimony of mine, I was walking through the quad and I seen this Black dad on his phone, and I just walked up to him. I was like, hey, how you doing, sir? My name such and such. I'm an RA in Northernburg, and I just wanted to see if you needed help. He was like, oh, I don't need help, but I appreciate you coming up and talking to me and asking me, but my daughter, she lives in Harlem and everything is straight. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I just wanted to let you know that this Saturday, it was like a Wednesday or something, like this Saturday, the MPAC is having their first annual cookout. That was when we had it like 2 years ago. And I really think you should have your daughter come out there. There's going to be a lot of Black people out there. And he was like, I didn't even know about that. And he was an alpha. He was like a grad chapter alpha. And I was like, he was like, yeah, I didn't know that. I'm going to definitely make sure that she knows that, because just being accepted, like you said, just really going back. I feel like COVID, it pushed us back, but it was like a rubber band. It could propel us forward, because we can actually go back and do the stuff that we can, like stuff that we did back then, we can bring it back now. Because my junior year, yeah, nobody, like, you only could have only like one helper move you into a dorm. And that was like my mom's, like nobody else. People were so fearful of it. It's definitely something to be fearful about, but it's like, it was something that was inevitable. Like, we couldn't change that, but now we can. So that idea of you, like, yeah, I feel like the quad is a great place. There's so much movement, so much traffic.
Yeah, because I mean, even as a GSA, right? Like, the grad school needs to do something, right? Like, it's one of those things where like we're constantly looking for community. We're constantly looking for our village. But at Pitt, like, I think to your point, Pitt's grown substantially since I was here. I mean, the top of the hill was Sutherland and Sutherland. That was it. Now y'all got like every little thing around here, and every Black people were either at Towers, Holland, and whatever the quads were, and then Forbes. So my freshman year, I was at Sutherland, so I was probably the odd man out, but I was with all the athletes, because that's where they were staying. You know what I mean? Once again, put all the Black folks all in the same corner, up in Holland, up in Sutherland. But I mean, I want to hear from you guys. Like, what are some things that you guys think that you can either take it back to your chapters, to your prospective organizations? Like, what are some of the things that we can talk about addressing challenge, right? One of the challenges I heard was maintaining focus and being able to stay on top of your grades. Another challenge is not feeling as though you don't belong. Because I mean, that's gonna be unfortunate. That's gonna be the black man's experience. We're at an institution where we're what, like, I mean, not just 8%, but as a black student population itself, what's the number like that?
I don't remember about the total.
10%,
Probably some 11.
right?
That might be a little high. Yeah.
So you walk around, like you said, of 300 people in the class, you're the only one in there. You know what I mean? Like, on top of that, don't be in a class and they're asking about the black experience or the black understanding. You got to carry the weight of your entire people on your back. So I say all that to say is, like, think about what we can do to really make a difference for the next generation, right? We're coming into an iteration of what's considered a new normal, right? People are still concerned about where we're going with these variants. People are still concerned about, like, going back to school, traveling and stuff like that. But as things come to a new normal, like Montreal said, what can we bring back that we used to have that used to help, right? Like, I know USEP was a funded program, but maybe you guys bring in another program that helps with at least the rudimentary study skills, time management, public speaking, like little things like that will allow the black man to at least assimilate into this environment. Making sure we continue having the cookout. We have the MPAC events so that, there's at least within the first few weeks a sense of community, a sense of belonging. Because even with the MPAC cookout, you're there. I don't think there's ever a sense of you gotta be one of us to be here. It's a welcome all and come and join the community. So I think with that, just kind of being able to say, think about it, take it back, and what can we really do to kind of
can I also add something? I know we're talking about, like, freshmen and stuff like that, but we can't forget about the ones like juniors and seniors. You brought up something about post-graduation depression, and, like, you got this newfound time and stuff what to do. I feel like that can lead to new problems.
For sure.
You probably never had anxiety before, but graduation day is April. It's January, you ain't got no job, you don't know what's going to happen. That can literally turn into a whirlwind that can literally put you into sunken places. So I feel like that's something else that would be.
I mean, that's why some people automatically hop onto the next degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
stay in school.
I know people who found 5-year programs because they feel like, all right, I know I'm gonna need another year, and then they go find a doctorate program, and then it's like, our masters got masters, right? so it's one of those things where it's like, at what point does it stop? Like, we talk about preparing for adulthood. Adulthood beyond college is probably the most difficult manual to find, right? Because I think we're writing it as we go. And part of it is really understanding who you are. That's kind of where I wanted to kind of get to, is like, do you guys feel like you are knowing yourselves by the time you leave Pitt or whatever schools that you've gone to?
I say the man that I was when I first entered college is not the man that I am now, due to the life lessons that I've learned. 4 years is a very long time for a person to evolve. I guarantee if I look back at what I was doing at the age of 18 now, I'll probably be ashamed of myself. Not saying I was doing wild stuff, but I just felt like, you just look at yourself and you just like, bro, you did that. You could have went this way and you would have been good. Like, you would have been straight. So it's on the job training. Like, I can go to my mom, I can go to my dad and ask them 1,000 questions, but I feel like that first person experience is just what's going to do it best. Like, my parents, they can try to protect me for as much as they can, but it's like sometimes that wall is going to run out, and then I'm just going to have to, it's a new world that I'm going to get exposed to. So that on the job training, like, you just gotta go to it. You just can't be vulnerable. Like how we talked about in the last podcast, just being vulnerable, being open, and being accepting to all new challenges, because I feel like no matter what comes, it's meant for something. I know my cousin, he always told me the saying, if it's meant for you, it won't pass you by.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So if it's meant for me to do this, no matter where it goes, it's gonna happen. So that's how I feel about adulthood.
I actually wanted to speak to that too. And talking about adulthood and all of that, like I definitely think post grad, I mean, obviously like it's definitely a hard time because you really are just trying to figure it out. And like you said, there is no manual. Some I just wanted to talk about also as we talk about mental health. I feel like you'll talk about identity. Like I had goals of what I wanted to be career wise and how I wanted school to look and X, Y, and Z, but I never put my goals into stuff like that. Like I always put my goals into art. What's the type of person I want to be when I get where I'm going? Like I'm like, all right, I'm in my parents' house. Like I'm in high school. Like I'm not an adult. I can't do nothing for real. But like when I'm able to be free, like what do I want this life to be? And once I was able to balance school, and once I was able to work while being in school, and once I was able to get these opportunities, I'm like, bet, like I'm the person I want to be. And honestly, it didn't go how I expected it to go. I'm supposed to be in physical therapy school right now, and I'm not, but like I'm okay with that because it wasn't about the title or the degrees necessarily. Like, yeah, I wanted a degree, but like it was more so about who am I and who do people view me as? Like, do people feel like they can come and talk to me? Do they feel like I'm a good person? Do they feel like I'm there for them? Do people feel like I'm a genuine person, and have I impacted people who are coming after me type of thing? And I think one of the things that, especially a lot of Black men, like people in general, but I feel like really a lot of men stereotypically, we put our value into the things. Like we put our value into the title, into the money, into the women. But in reality, as we've seen with celebrities and whoever else, no matter, like essentially that doesn't really matter if you're not right itself. Like if you're still not that person that you want to be, all that other stuff literally goes out the window immediately. Regardless of the job and the money, all that stuff, it really does not matter. So if I were to say something for a young Black man coming into college, like figure out who you want to be first, bro. Because the degree, you can get any degree you want. Like you pass these couple classes, you do this little capstone project, they're gonna give you the degree.
They're gonna give
you pay
got
for
the
it.
bread, yeah.
They're gonna give you the degree. But like if you're not right with yourself, I feel like a lot of people be sad and almost depressed because they feel like they can't do what they want to do, for a lack of a better phrase. But like, oh, I can't do this because of my family and the pressures of this and X, Y, and Z. But like, the more you keep saying that you can't do that stuff because of X, Y, and Z, you're going to just become resentful and regretful. And like, all that's going to do is, one of the quotes that I live by is, what is it? Regret makes you bitter, and then like resentment hurts the people that you love. I forget exactly what it was said, but that's something I kind of stand on. Like, I don't want to regret anything. So let me just do what I want, even if it don't come out perfect. Even if it come out bad, at least it was my choice. And I'm not putting a value in other people's expectations and, you know what I'm saying, what they expect me to be.
That's deep. So two more questions that I have for you guys. And this is for, I would like everybody to kind of think about this as the first person answers it. Having gone through what you've gone through at Pitt, what would you tell yourself as a freshman? I'll start just to give you guys a chance, right? What I would have told myself as a freshman was, don't be afraid to talk to people. My freshman year, I did walk up to random folks. It's probably not the best thing to do. You don't know what people are going through, but
I feel like in 2000 it's fine.
But I really wanted, I came up from a place of fearing rejection, right? Like, I say this all the time, like you probably don't know because the Zoes run Miami, but in New York in the 80s, and I am aging myself again, to be Haitian was to like not be it, right? you rather tell somebody you're Jamaican or something else. Like to be Haitian and African or a language that they don't understand was like probably like the most ostracizing thing that can happen to you, but you're born into it, right? And so I've always had to deal with feeling like ostracized. So for me, there was a lot of fear of making new friends or talking to people first. And I realized that my fears were kind of just that, like in my head, because coming to Pitt at the time I came, people were friendly. I just was not very open to approaching people because I was afraid that, nah, B, I don't know you. Or, because I mean, in Philly, they could be really nice or they could be really mean. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was just like, all right, based on where you're from, I'm gonna be cool. I'm cool on you until I can like feel comfortable. So for me, it really would be, be willing and open to meet new people and experience new things. We're gonna start this way.
Well, I can touch on that. I'm gonna go more towards, since going down like freshman year, towards my other undergrad, which is another PWI. So come there, I was the same way pretty much as him, like especially with like being around like especially that certain type of like white people. They're more like country royal. So I was like, I'm cool on them. I don't know. They wearing boots and stuff. They got hats. They love the American flag. I was like, all right. So I kind of kept my distance. I was like, I'm not going to talk to him. I'm not going to go out the way and talk to him. I did not get out that bubble until maybe till COVID kicked us out. So I think it was my sophomore, junior year. Like I didn't feel comfortable with talking to people until I felt like you were
stuck not talking to people.
Yeah. And for the most part, it was nice. Like it took one incident. I was putting air in my tire. He was like, "You need help?" I was like, some dude I had class with, never talked to. I was like, all right. So from then on, I got out my bubble. And that's how you're gonna enjoy yourself, meet more people, and you just got to make the most of it at PWIs and stuff like that. Like it might not be everything you want it to be, but that's how you make the most of it. You network, and you get places like this. Like they teach you about grad student assistant spots because that's how you do it. So you get information for that. So main thing, just like you got to get out that bubble. Like I know some places come from. You don't just walk up and talk to strangers. That's the wonderful thing about college is that college is like an open environment. Everybody's here. Everybody just trying to be their best, do their best, and network. So just be more open.
For sure. I would say, like, I know we talked about, like, if an opportunity is for you, it'll never pass you by. But something that I learned even recently was write everything down. Firstly, it's funny because I tell my Neos this all the time and they don't listen. But write everything down because I feel like I'm an observant person in general, or at least I think I am. But 99% of the stuff that I see every day, I ignore. But if I was writing stuff down of like, all right, let me remember this because like I might need this in the future, or like this tip, or like something that somebody said, this quote or this flyer. Like if you writing stuff down constantly, one, you can track progress, but also you can just see the abundance of knowledge that you just gained just by just paying attention a little bit more. Like be present in the moment, but also don't let certain moments pass you by. And if you're being cognitive of like paying attention to more moments than you usually do, a lot of that stuff will help you in the future. You might go back to page 1 in the book and be like, yo, I need this. And it's day 300. It's been a year later. So write stuff down. I mean, we're on our phone. You're not going to pull out a pencil and paper, but type it in your notes real quick because like, you really might need that one day.
Okay. Young one.
Yeah, so I guess I am the youngest. But I feel that I would tell my freshman self, I guess similar to everyone else, but try to get out of being an introvert. I've always been an introverted person since I was little. My mom has always told me that. But just being able to get out of my shell in places where I'm not comfortable and become comfortable in that sense, I feel like it would have helped me a lot freshman year because I really didn't get my real footing until like I guess it was after the pandemic when like Nesby like was all online and we were just talking over there and I was like, okay, I need to do something to get my mind off of being in this room. Let me join up the Zoom. So just getting out of my shell, I feel like is beneficial. And that's what I would tell my my freshman year self. So, yeah.
I would probably tell myself just to go harder in everything you do. You know what I'm saying? From the jump, like just put maximum effort into everything that I did in school, whether it was good, whether it was bad, you know what I'm saying? Just put more effort into a lot of the things that I did. Just because, like, I don't want to feel like I left anything behind. And, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I did that in college. Like, I could have had a better GPA. I could have did this. Obviously, it was things, I didn't understand that I understand now. So it's like, looking back, obviously, there are all these decisions I would have made. But, I also think that's important, too. Like, I would just tell myself to go harder because, like, at the end of the day, the choices that I make and the decisions that I make, I got to live with those and I got to rock out. So, I'm happy I've made the decisions that I've made, whether they were good or bad, because they led to, here. But I also, feel like there's some times where I left some stuff on the table and I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off what Cam said because there's definitely some B pluses that I could have turned into some A minuses. I ain't gonna lie, because that 3.75 it does wonders to GPAs. But also for me, just being comfortable with failing. My first exam ever in college, I failed. Got a flat out 52. I remember it to this day. I thought my college career was over. I was like, you got all this, I'm the first person to go to Pittsburgh, like in Miami, everybody, Tanya's son, you going to Pitt, doing all these big, great things. And, you got that pressure and you got all of this, stuff, people rooting for you and stuff. And you get a 52. I'm like, oh no, this is not it. I told my mama earlier the week, I got an exam on Friday. Had an exam? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But definitely just being comfortable with failing. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable. You're not gonna get everything you want on the first try. Just as long as you just bounce back, persevere, and continue to what you want to get, and I guarantee it's gonna come. Straight like that.
All right, and then the last thing is this was dope. I really appreciate you guys, opening up and being able to talk your talk. Like, how do we create more spaces like this on campus where it's not just a podcast episode, right? Like, you now have a village, right? Like, you now have people that you can be like, all right, outside of Montreal, it's like, I know other people now. How do we continue to grow this such that a one-off thing? Because I think to your point, we have these conversations and then goes up and then everybody goes separate ways. Like, what are your thoughts on kind of being able to continue something like this? Because I think the best thing that happened was the Black Men's Collective that helped you out, right? Something like that, continuing to support those type of programs. So whoever has a response, you can respond. If there's no response, that's cool too. But just think about that, because for me, whenever I end these shows, I always want to leave my guests thinking, how do we keep this going forward, right? My goal is to keep this platform as open as possible and hopefully tour the PWI concept, because you guys are feeling the same way a whole bunch of other people are probably feeling. But, once again, to your point, who cares, right? Sometimes it's like, who cares you got mental health issues or you're going through a thing, but there's somebody at IUP going probably through partying too much to pay attention to the Zoom. but nonetheless, like, from all of our cities, it's Pitt and IUP, right? Like, there's somebody at IUP right now going through some of the same things as freshmen, and they wish they did things different. How can we continue to kind of expand your network around here? Because from here to IUP, to Cal, to Slippery Rock, to Edinburgh, to Clarion, like, Western PA is pretty deep as far as schools go. And I mean, we pretty much support each other when it comes to events in the different seasons. So I would love to see this kind of grow beyond just a one-time conversation. For 3 organizations here, that Greek-led organizations here, where people think we bicker and fight each other, but y'all cool as heck. You know what I'm saying? Y'all actually cool with each other. And so being able to bring a Black NPAC men's, conversation,
being able to do that. And let's bring the women in to kind of get a better understanding. Like, they probably want to get a better understanding of y'all. Probably most of the people watching today were women, right? Because they're always trying to get a better understanding of us. We don't have a space to really feel like we can talk a lot of the time, right? This is probably the most y'all talk amongst Black men about your feelings in a long time. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for me, it's like, to your point, nobody cares what I'm going through. No one asks what I'm going through. You know what I mean? And the fact that we have a space to be like, yo, I'll give y'all the floor to talk. If y'all choose to talk, great. If y'all talk, I mean, Montreal talked a whole lot today, but that's what the space is for. You know what I mean? So with that being said, does anybody have kind of a thing to talk about, like how we can kind of keep this going? Or did I just touch them all on them already?
Yes.
All right,
Oh,
cool.
I definitely did. I have things that I could
Go ahead.
talk about. Keeping going forward. Definitely more conversations like this, like regardless of what that may look like. And honestly, if we think about a lot of the schools in PA, like besides the ones that are in Philly and Pittsburgh, a lot of them are in the middle of nowhere. Like when we talk about Black population, not only is the Black population smaller on their campus, but there's not even Black people anywhere near them. Like we can even talk about the HBCUs in PA. Bro, Lincoln and Cheney are in the middle of nowhere. Like there is literally nothing but fields around them. And I didn't even peep that until I recently went in the past year or so. So I'm like, we have actually a lot of Black people in Pittsburgh. There's no reason why we can't tap into these communities. There's no way we can't bridge this gap. Because being from Philly and also being college educated, as far as Pittsburgh Black people, I can't necessarily say I always feel like we can relate on a lot of things or we even be in a space to relate on a lot of things. But if this Pitt population, even if it's small, somehow was able to bridge the gap with just the Pittsburgh population, we would probably feel like, yo, we can run this city. Because there's a lot of Black people here. And even if they may not be in these exact shoes that we're in, they're going through the same type of stuff that we're going through. So we can find ways for us to just Black men to have a space to talk or to chill or to sports, whatever. We can still do the things that we do, but just doing it together and often and frequent. So essentially, I think tapping into the Pittsburgh community way, way more and getting the university to help, that's how we can move this forward.
And y'all can be the catalyst, right? The Black Men's Collective sound like it's an amazing organization that is really pushing that narrative of let's bring if not the most powerful men in the city or at the school and kind of introduce them to the Black male body. And that's one of the reasons why Montreal wanted me to kind of do this, because he was like, yo, the Black Men's Collective, you got the state of the Black men's mental health. I think it would be a dope conversation to have. So with that being said, do you guys have anything coming up, your prospective organizations or what might have you? Nope. Montreal, what's going on for the rest of Founders Week?
Rest of Founders Week, we have nothing planned for tomorrow, but Thursday we're having a Meet the Qs event, and then Saturday we're going to end it off with a community service event. If anybody wants to donate, bread, peanut butter, jelly, ham, turkey, water, chips, anything, we're going to be passing those out to the homeless downtown and the south side. Also, our grad chapter Iota Phi is doing a turkey drive on Saturday from 9 a.m. at the Anderson Manor, which is on the north side, and we're giving out turkeys from 9 a.m. until they run out. So if you know anybody in Pittsburgh that needs a turkey for Thanksgiving, just send them over there to the Anderson Manor on Saturday.
Awesome. And tune in this Saturday on the State of the Black Man's Mental Health, where we're going to talk about if there are any really good Black men out there. I mean, a lot of us have been hurt in the past, and some of those past traumas we allow those past traumas to dictate how we behave and how we present ourselves. So we're going to have a dope panel to talk about how past hurts can't keep them from being the great men that they are. So with that being said, I love you all. Stay safe. Protect your peace.
Peace.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.